Hello, welcome to Today in the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Okunshaki. Here on Today in the News, we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories making waves across Nigeria. And this morning, on the paper review, I'm starting with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with CBN raises cash withdrawal limits. Weekly limit now 500,000 naira. A corporate body weekly limits 5 million naira. Third-party checks above 100,000 naira not eligible for payment. Extant limit of 10 million naira on clearing checks still subsists. Also, compliance with extant AML and TFT regulations to KYC, currencies, STR, etc. mandatory. You can see that on page 5. Now, on page 8, attack on INEC officers, PDP, APC trade accusations. We have uncovered APC's plot to disrupt 2023 elections. That's according to PDP. Invite PDP leaders for questioning, APC tells security agencies. On page 33, terrorism, Lord Anand Saraki CSOs won DSS over Emefiele. Corruption, ex-Attorney General of the Federation, Idris forfeits $899,900, 304.5 million naira, 15 properties to federal government. You can see that story on page 6. Power surge, fire kills 11. Injures several others in Zaria. Second Niger bridge will be delivered before May 23. That's coming from federal government. Peter Obi accepts campaign director general's resignation. Supplementary budget. Buhari seeks 819.5 billion naira for flood relief. You can see that on page 31. Stories above. United Kingdom court rejects Ekwemadu's bail plea. And we have on page 8, for Lagos to grow, Agberos must go. Gbadebo is saying that is the Labour Party governorship candidate for Lagos State. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard newspaper on page 11, railway services to Eastern Corridor before May 29 not feasible. That's coming from federal government. And that's all we have on Vanguard newspaper. Now, away from there, we move straight to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper this morning is leading with CBN backtracks, increases weekly cash withdrawals, a foreign interest weigh in on Emefiele, DSS conflict, pro-Emefiele protest hold in Abuja, Kaduna, stop illegal plot to remove CBN boss, says Arewa Gru youths. A CBN governor explains inability to appear before lawmakers in person. Don't politicize security, DSS operation, Saraki cautions. Markets will find its cause despite controversies, says Fasua. And there's a photo story showing Ajabia Mila, Emefiele, and Aisha Ahmed. Now, stories above, we have Sanwo-Olu celebrates completion of first phase Lagos Blue Rail. You can see that on page 3. And lastly, on the Guardian newspaper, Wike threatens to jail politicians who disobey executive orders 21 and 22. You can see that on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. Now let's move to the Punch. Punch this morning is leading with fuel scarcity. Depot dry up, Nigerians face bleak Christmas. A few queues worsen in Lagos, others marketers blame supply shortage. Interstate commercial drivers, passengers bemoan high cost of fuel and fares. Filling stations closed down over unavailability of petrol. Nogasa laments. And on page 4, Caravan cop detained for killing Lagos motorcyclists. Stories above, Buhari seeks fresh 819 billion naira loan. Domestic debt eats 22.5 trillion naira. You can see that on page 21 of the Punch newspaper. Now, away from there, we move to the Nation. The Nation this morning is leading with how Blue Light Rail will benefit Lagos by Sanwo-Olu. Test running of project begins. Buhari to kick off phase 2 January. You can see that on page 4. Stories above, we have Buhari seeks approval for 1 trillion naira cash advance from CBN. You can see that on page 4. Also, Buhari ready to campaign for Tinubu with energy. That can be seen on page 6. INEC admits seeming overvoting in Osun. Another office attacked in Imo. You can see that on pages 2 and 7. Lastly, on the Nation, APC challenges PDP on plot to derail 2023 elections. You can see that on page 4 of the Nation newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies this morning. Join us after the break. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today the News on Vanguard Live. I'm Damlola Ogunshaki. Joining me to analyze the front pages of dailies this morning is Mr. Oludari Maiwa. He's a publisher, Global Financial Digest. Good morning, Mr. Maiwa.
Good morning, and thanks for having me this morning.
All right. It seems that the Central Bank of Nigeria has raised its weekly cash withdrawal limit set for individuals and corporate organizations to 500,000 naira and 5 million naira. Of course, it was previously 100,000 naira and 500,000 naira. Now, what do you think about these raise?
Thank you very much. For me, it's end of that policy for me, so to say. And CBN succumb to prayer from politicians mainly. But when you analyze the previous policy of 400,000 per week for individuals and 5 million, you can imagine how many Nigerians have access to 400,000 naira in a month to withdraw from the bank. So for me, it's a way of actually checkmating so many things in the economy. For example, now that you have increased the limit, so the kidnapper can ask for cash as ransom, and people can get it for them from the bank. And this was supposed to checkmate kidnapping, abduction, and the rest. Now we have opened the floodgate back to them. So we have to ask the question: what was the essence of that policy initially? And I sympathize with the governor of Central Bank, Governor Emefiele, because the pressure was within the period they were announced the policy, and yesterday when the policy was reversed, there was enormous pressure. You can imagine that was when we had the issue of DSS trying to arrest him and frame him for terrorism. I've seen those things as part of the pressure to make sure that he capitulate so that he can do the will of. Generally, what we are seeing today is a pressure from the political class who want to use, who have already massed up resources to rig the election, to buy voters, and they see the policy as are going to be a counter productive to their scheme, and they have to mount pressure. And you cannot look far to know where the pressure comes from.
All right, let's talk about of course, the terrorism charge against the governor of CBN. I mean, DSS went and filed a suit against Emefiele. And of course, they had issues with that, but it was dismissed and people started protesting against that. This thing. What do you think about this?
Like I said, it's part of the plot to force him to reverse his policy. It's part of the plot to see that his cashless policy not work, especially ahead of the 2023 election. The policy itself was killed in such a way that it would prevent vote buying. Because politicians don't have access to large sum of money, it's very difficult for them to distribute money to buy vote during the election. So the DSS plot, wherever you are looking at it, I'm sure it's part of the political class scheme to ensure that CBN reverse itself on that policy. And you can see everything will fizzle out. As long as since he has reversed the policy now, you see all those gimmick will fizzle out. And I don't see any substance in the accusation against the CBN governor. It's just part of the political class plot to force his hand down. Say, look, you cannot do it. The politicians are depending on rigging the election to win. None of them are sure of winning election. None of them are sure of convincing the electorate to vote for them. They all depend on manipulations. And the cash limit policy will have handicapped many of them from buying votes, for influencing the INEC, for influencing the security agency, for influencing the electorate. Because transfer, you can track transfer of money from account to account, but cash, you cannot track it. And so for me, the DSS court case and the rest is probably part of the political class to mount pressure on CBN, and it has capitulated. So you see those things fizzle out in no time.
In the DSS is politicized. I mean, if they are going to this extent, like what you said.
No, you can't do that now. Let's go back to the first time of President Buhari when the DSS sealed up the National Assembly in order to dethrone Saraki as Senate President. The DSS has already been politicized because they are instruments in the hand of the people in power. They are only been politicized. People there, the head of the DSS is a politician too. Maybe appointed by the president, who is a politician himself. So it's an instrument of government to do as they do. During Jonathan's presidency too, we see how the DSS was manipulated to deal with the opposition of the president and the rest. So DSS have already been politicized in this country. So they are not professionalized until we find a way to professionalize this security agency. Politicians will always manipulate them to do their own will.
If DSS is politicized, does it mean that the security of the nation is going to be manipulated?
Of course, we have not developed to that extent where we have independent security agency who is not answerable to the president, who is independent of the government. Like what is happening in the United States and other developed economy. Nigeria is still a third world country, a developing country that everything around us today is subject to the president. So there's no police, for example, that can arrest the president if he has done anything wrong. We are seeing the semblance of that happen in South Africa, for example, where the people have went to the president farm and read the place and discovered he has done something wrong. But it can't happen here. Once the president said this is the way to go, because he appointed this security agency, can remove them at will. They are subjected to his authority. So they are prone to be manipulated by the politician. So we are not developed to that point where we have independent institution that can look the president face to face and say, no, we can't do this thing. It's against the law. Until we get to that particular position, then either the army, the police, or civil defense corps, wherever they are subjected to the president and they are subjected to manipulation.
With all this that is happening, can Nigerians still trust the security of the country?
When we have to ask ourselves, what alternative do we have? What choice do we have? We have to trust the security to secure our environment, so to say. Until we get to a point that where many Nigerians start participating in politics and start developing institutions, creating institutions for this country that can work, so that we can have independent police, independent army, independent DSS, independent institutions like INEC. Until we get to a point in this country where we build institution, not personality. What we have today is personality. We are building strong leaders. We believe that President Muhammad Buhari will fight corruption. That's why we elected him. And of course, we are seeing how they have manipulated the whole system, and corruption is even very stronger under this regime than ever before. So until we stop projecting a strong leader who is only saying, I will do this, I will do that, until we begin to create institutions of government that can actually act independent of the person who is in power. Until we get to that point, Nigerian security, Nigerian CBN, Nigerian whatever, we can recall what happened during the President Jonathan's regime. People were taking bullion funds to CBN to collect money, dollars, to spend, to finance election. So, but if you have independent institutions, that will not happen. We will have a CBN governor and say, no, President, we cannot take this order. But no sitting CBN governor has the capacity to with the president. We saw what happened then. President Jonathan removed former Governor Saraki Sanusi from power because it was not into their bid. So as long as the president has the capacity to remove head of institutions, then we will have weak institutions. But once we don't, look at this in America today, no president can remove FBI director or CIA director, any of those institutions. They are independent of the president. They can challenge the president, but there's no institution that can challenge the president today. So they are subjected to manipulation by the president and his lieutenant and his kitchen cabinet and his political party. And that's the state we are today. But Nigeria need to wake up.
All right, let's talk about INEC. So what do you think about the recent destruction or attacks on INEC properties?
All of this are still politicians playing out. They don't want to play election. In the area where they are not strong, they want to cause as maximum damage to the decision of an electoral body, so that people now probably are appointed to vote or they disrespect some people. Like we said last week, for example, politicians buying PVC and we are housing it. They want to deprive their opposition from winning election over them. So they will do everything possible. These are political manipulation. These are things you see on this version. We have politicians are already dependent on talks, on vandalism, on all these things to manipulate election. And that's part of the manipulation of election. Attack on the INEC offices, but part of the design of the people. If you know you are not strong in a place, a political party who has a strength of capacity to attack, will attack INEC office so that it can at least do a maximum damage, so that it can prevent people on that area from voting against you. So you already reduced the vote of your opponent from their stronghold, and that gives an advantage. And that's what we are seeing playing out in all those areas. So they are not new. It's a part of the political mechanic in this country. And because we don't have a strong institution, if we have a strong institution, we have seen the DSS and the army and the police are rising up to the occasion and nip it in the bud. But because all of them are subject to political manipulation, so you will dance to the tune of the politicians who pay the pipers, dictate the tunes.
How will this destruction of these INEC properties affect Nigeria election in 2023?
Yeah, you see, we see consider the cases of attack on INEC are isolated cases. There are specific areas of the country, not a general thing. So what that means is that there are targeted attack on those offices for political reason. Like I explained earlier, politicians will do anything possible to frustrate their opponents, to frustrate their effort, not to win election over them. So because they are targeted area, it seems that those politicians or parties that are not strong in those areas
Hello, sir. You can continue, sir.
So that's what I'm saying. They can see it happening. It's isolated cases, so it's not a general thing. And when you look at the area, for example, the southeast part of this country, and probably that's happening in Osun, in part of Osun and in part of Ogun, but the rest of the country, there are no attack against INEC, which means those politicians are doing this thing. This case can be isolated if you have a strong security agency. They can be isolated because it's easy to track those who are carrying out the attack. And of course, they are using the crisis in the southeast and are blaming an iPod. I'm not sure it can be actually tracked to them. The security agency need to do much more to ensure that they track these people down and they nip the crisis in the bud.
All right, let's just quickly look at this one before we go. So, Labour Party governorship candidate for Lagos State said, for Lagos to grow, Agberos must go. What do you think about this?
Yes, that should be the right thing, really. We don't really need Agberos in the system. But who will bear the cat? Who will address the issue? These Agberos are working for politicians. These Agberos are the people that the politicians are used to win election. They are the people that are used to manipulate election, manipulate policy. They are the people that are using to gather resources from the system to fight election and to do other things. And they are the boys that they have come not to empower. So who will dismantle them? Is it the same people that are empowered that will dismantle them? No. So it's a very difficult situation to address. And because as long as they are working for powerful politicians who are deploying them for selfish reasons, they will come to be in our system. They have always been there. And we know that they have been used to manipulate the power, election system, to perpetuate iniquities in the system. So as long as that remain, unfortunately, Labour Party candidate may say or will say he doesn't have the capacity to implement that. He doesn't have capacity to do it. I'm sure even if we get to power, if by whatever chance he's elected because the government governors today, those cabal we run into, they will penetrate his government, and before you know it, he will hand over the power to them again. Because they are not so powerful because they control large sum of money.
All right, let's end this on a lighter note with Mr. and Mrs. And the first person speaking this morning is Mrs. And she says that, dear, Christmas is around the corner. Mr. replied, so what do you want me to do about it? Christmas will eventually leave the corner.
The madam is asking for money.
Yes,
so the guy should get the signal. Asking for money. Simple.
So are you preparing for Christmas?
Try. Just help us. Nigeria body has ended up so many things. So we are trying our best to make do the best we have.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Oludarimayowa, for joining me this morning.
Thanks so much.
Yes.
The networks will get terribly bad. Yeah.
Yes. As a publisher of Global Financial Digest.
I will already and a Merry Christmas in advance.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Oludarimayowa. It's the publisher Global Financial Digest.
Thank you.
He just reviewed and analyzed some of the stories on the front pages with us this morning. Now, to get more of our top stories, you can follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. I'm Damlola Ogunshaki. It's bye from me on Today in the News.